African poetry encompasses the wide variety of traditions arising from Africa's 55 countries and from evolving trends within different literary genres. It is a large and complex subject, partly because of Africa's original linguistic diversity, but primarily because of the devastating effect of slavery and colonization, which resulted in English, Portuguese, and French, as well as Creole or pidgin versions of these European languages being spoken and written by Africans across the continent.
The excitement when it gets to drama, wow, drama text and the rest of them, then prose. But when it gets to poetry, there is this lackadaisical attitude, and from the start of the whistle, the children are already discouraged. They don't like poetry at all. I also had the same encounter during my undergraduate days in the university. I did this course, Introduction to Literature. I enjoyed the course, but when it got to that point of poetry, my sister, there's always this difficulty. And unfortunately, you now have lecturers who are not the friendly type. In fact, they will now complicate matters for you. And one, you don't like poetry, you don't even like the lecturer taking the poetry. So poetry, immediately most of us scaled through that as that course. To God be the glory, nothing to do with poetry. But when I found myself teaching, I just realized that no, we need to do something about it. And when I had the opportunity, I just told myself, look, I must do something. What can I do? What can I do to make literature interesting? What can I do to attract people into that field of poetry again? One of the reasons people complain about poetry is because of the elevated language. The poet delights in coding his message. So it is now the responsibility of the reader to decode. And for you to decode, it takes high level of creativity, critical thinking. And unfortunately, the kind of people we have today, I'm not sure they are ready to do that. And because they are not ready to do that, we are losing so many people away from poetry. So I just came to this conclusion. I must do something to attract people back to literature, especially poetry. And what is that? Can I do poetry for the masses? Can I do poetry for the other set of people who don't like poetry?
Furthermore, certain poets who valorize African languages compose initially in indigenous languages, such as Kenyan Gitali Giti and Eritrean. Most African poets have strived for a poetic voice that recognizes orality and evocative metaphors, demonstrating how the imposed colonial languages, along with African mother tongues, can be honed to express relevant social and cultural images. Because written poetry may also be performed, African poets have worked for a balance between abstract and accessible metaphors in order to continue the functional and communal art of their poetic forebears.